Okay, so I'm a cost consultant in the Mace London office, and what I deal with is obviously cost consultancy, but I also help lead the integration of BIM through our cost consultants, as well as our estimators and on-site QSs, because Mace is a consultancy and a construction firm. So technically, where this presentation should have been was at the end. So we would have had an overview of what the information manager role is, as Adrian's presented what BIM for project managers look like, and what you're also going to learn about is cost management from Dave Munswhite and how BIM fits into that process. So there's a lot of theory talking about what BIM is, what it means. So I sat and thought I'll give you a bit of a practical explanation of what I see when I sit at my desk, what works, what doesn't work. So model data to a QS can mean a lot of things. So what I'm going to focus on is purely the quantification aspect, because I figured how many designers are in the room and how many non-designers? Everyone else, I'm going to assume. Stupid question. I figured it helps you see what we see and the translation of the information from a design aspect into a practical use and how we quantify things, because often when you hear about BIM, you sit there and you think, oh great, you can do 5D cost modeling, you can take the quantities off, great, press of a button. It's not quite as simple as that from what we've learned in our journey. So let me just explain. By this point, you would have hopefully have learned about what the level 2 commercial suite documents are, and that obviously involves the employer's information requirements, your BIM protocols, scope services for your information managers, as 1192, and the best practice for your professional indemnity insurance. Kind of hoping at this point everyone sort of had previously told you what it was, but we're going to pray. So I dubbed them the BIM Bibles. Now, as a QS, obviously measurement is an aspect, it's the facet of your job, and it's quite important to get right. So we do have rules for measurement, the RICS, we have civil engineering type rules of measurement. So what I'm going to focus on is the NRM, which is our new rules of measurement published by the RICS, the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. Now, we actually have a suite of 3 documents. We have the NRM1, which it deals with cost estimates and cost planning. So this is very high level. When you do your feasibility studies, you stage up to stage D, your formal cost plan number 2, your pre-tender estimates. You then have your NRM2, which takes it to another level of detail, which is producing your bills of quantities, and NRM3, which deals with your capital, your maintenance costs for facilities managers. Now, the NRM is produced to code how it's coded in a way that you can use and compare the data at different stages of the design. It also, which in itself is good because it acknowledges that level of detail develops through the process. So you're not going to have all the information at stage 1. You're just not. So to give, what I'm going to be talking about is the NRM1, because this is what I do as a day job. It's a comfort zone. So as I described, the cost estimates, cost plans are aligned with the REBA stages. Now, yes, this isn't the current REBA stages. I didn't print NRM, but it's a screenshot for you. So it just lets you see that we do our cost estimates at the higher level, formal cost plan, 1, 2, 3, tender estimate. And the NRM actually tells us what information we need from the designers, the employers, the project managers in order to produce our cost plan. Okay, so we actually get told what information we're looking for. So when we ask, we're not nagging, we're just sticking to the rules. This is another shot of what our NRM looks like. Now, I just picked internal finishes because it was the easiest one there. Oops, a little bit lazy, but true. So what we have our group elements. We have our sort of subgroup elements, wall finishes, floor finishes, and then we get into our measurement rules. Okay, I'm telling you this for a reason. It's not because I want you all to be QSs. It's a great job, but it's not for everyone. So just to give you an example, when we measure or when we take quantities off and we format in our cost plan, we stick to these rules. So we will generally lay out our cost plan based on this structure. Now, it might not be word for word or like for like, but this is the basic structure and principles that we see. So when a quantity surveyor will approach your BIM protocol or advise you that they want models, 5D capability from your model. In our mind, we want this. This is what we're looking at. This is what we're looking to produce in our cost plans. So it takes all this information that we have in our rules and we're applying it to our BIM protocol. I know this from experience. I hand it over saying, this is what I want. Yes, 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 we can do this. This is great. Oh, great. Yay, engagement. Miracle. In my mind, I'm sitting thinking, great. I don't have to sit and measure. I can just press a button because I'm going to get my quantities the way I want it. Yeah. Golden rule. So, what this is, we use a software called BIM Measure, which is a Causeway product, and we use Causeway Suite for our cost reports. We have dynamic links. There are a number out there. We have CostX, and we use different software, but I'm going to show you what I use. So I'm going to take you on a journey of the QS who wants to venture into BIM. Right? Okay, we acknowledge it's a tool. We're a little bit ambivalent of whether it works or not. You know, everyone's sort of saying a QS is in denial. We're not in denial, we're just a little bit skeptical. Let me show you why. So, great. We sit down, we get the model. We have a play around with said model. Oh, great, look, we can see the foundations, we can do some cross sections, pick out pretty colours, get to see the properties. Oh, and it pops up. Think, great, this is a good start. We have an idea. People have been listening to what we want. We then go, okay, let's have a look at the model contents. Now, this is what we use in order to help us create our schedules and feed our quantities into our cost plan. So QSs aren't designers. You know, remember in our mind the formats of the cost plan, so the group, the subgroup, the different groups. And we get Revit links. What's a Revit link? This isn't what I wanted in my cost report. This, okay, all right, I'll deal with it. Let's delve a little bit further, you know, because I wanted, yes, I know I've picked finishes, but you get the principle, internal finishes. So we delve a bit deeper. Okay, right, so I'm starting to see the next level of information in this model. How can I start using this to produce my cost plan? Well, number one that you notice is that you have a number of Revit links. So you ring up your architect or designer, apologies. What's a Revit link? Oh, it's just the way we stitch the model together. Oh, it's just the way we do it. Okay. But in order for us to produce quantities, it's always, but for ease of use, it's always nice to have it all as one. It means that we're realizing, oh, there's a little bit more work involved. Are we going to get any other nasty surprises? What we've been promised we can have. Move on. So we have a look, you know, we bring out the BIM protocol because we're very, you know, contractual. See what we said. Doesn't quite match what we want, but we're big boys and girls, we move on. So we go to the next level. Now I've picked walls on here because walls are generally a good example. Now one thing to point is we're seeing exactly what designers are putting into the model now. So it's not just you guys sitting in your offices creating these lovely visualizations, your plans and stuff. We're actually starting to use the data, and if it isn't labeled in a way that we can use it or understand it, we're going to go back and say, well, why? And it gets a little bit awkward. So on here, we look at it, you can see, oh, look, it's got a bit more detail. It's an external wall or it's an internal wall. Okay, that's good. That helps us in a way. But it now means that when I pull off the schedules, I have to go through and sort all the information. Yes, it is at the click of a button, but I can guarantee that now my trust is a little bit lost because I've been saying, oh, can I have it like this as per my BIM protocol or execution plan? This is what I'm seeing in my mind, and we're not getting it. So if you lose the trust in your team, we'll revert back to DWGs and PDFs. Because if we can't visually see it and it's not labelled in a way that we can use it, we're not going to use it. Now, the bottom screen for our schedule is, we'll sort it out into the different wall types, but if you haven't got sort of a spec reference, we're not asking you to put loads of information straight away. Give us an understanding that you're not going to have it, but I've got a specification. Let's put the little specification code so we can go, all right, okay, cool, let's pull it out of the email, have a look. Not all the information is going to be contained in this model. So we acknowledge it. Another thing that we've noticed is, as a QS, the design team can use multiple platforms. You can use Autodesk products, you can use Bent products. So because of the sheer amount of information that comes our way that we look at and coordinate in our minds with our experiences, with our measurement rules, we have to work in a platform that reads everything. So we generally ask for an IFC as well. So previously, let me just bounce back. Oh. Okay, right. The model on here is a DWFX model. It's one of the limitations of our software, which is actually getting further developed, but we ask for an IFC as well, so we can learn from how we see it. Now, this is an IFC model of the exact same building. So when you look at it, you can see a level of information, a level of detail visually is missing. There's a missing link. The DWFX allows us to make a bit more informed decisions without even having to delve in, so it helps us visualize the project a lot easier. The way IFC is going, obviously with it being the future, it kind of needs to improve, which I'm sure it will do. It is a work in progress, but it doesn't really help when it comes to visualization. So what I've done is I just sat and thought I'll give you some helpful hints. So as a QS, because I'm not going to lecture to everyone, we need to gain an understanding of how architects or designers, approach and structure a project themselves, so their internal processes. Because if we don't understand it, how are we going to use their data and interpret it to the way we use it? Because obviously, even though we're saying we want the perfect vision, so we want walls, wall type, external, internal, more information, at this moment in time it might not be practical. So we have to be flexible enough to and go out there and understand how it's done. We also need to understand about any workarounds or limitations your designers do. So for example, the one I always use is Brise-Soleil. Some people use it as, label it as a cladding. Yeah, if we're seeing it and we're pulling it off under the label cladding, that's going to get in our quantity. It's going to affect the cost plan, big style. So we just need to communicate with the team to understand that actually this workaround that helps you design it doesn't help us when we pull off the quantities, but at least we're aware of it, so we can make the adjustment factor. If we can label things in a certain way. It doesn't have to be the code as per NRM. That's a bit hard, seriously. And it's not just that, it's the way the estimators or project QSs approach and measure. Very similar, but slightly different. So the coding might not completely work. Flexible. So again, appreciate not everything's modeled. You do need your specifications. You will need PDFs. Well, it is a level 2 requirement PDF, but you know, just the outside information, more information is great. We ourselves might actually have to develop sort of an adware to help extract and interpret quantities in the data for us to use, and also be aware of loss and translation data. So, example for the IFC and DWFX, there is some information gets lost out. So, for designers, be aware that you do need to put in a bit more information rather than drawing a line. Sorry to dumb down the trade, but in order for us to use it and the future use for the team, you will have to start putting in a little bit more information in. And also your working practices, your QA system may not actually be of use for us when we put in our procurement packages together. So when we do work packages, if you haven't labelled it in a certain way, what I'm getting at is the speed of efficiency isn't there. So we have to work together to try and label the work simultaneously and label together. So do that. So for all, communication's vital. Everyone says it's all about working together. It is, because the information that you guys see is now starting to be fed down the chain, and it will get interrogated by different people, different aspects, and they will come back to you and start asking you questions and asking you to justify why it's not done in such a way. Another thing, be clear about what your requirements are. Respective and abortive work is so frustrating, and you lose the efficiency of time. It costs people in pain, if nothing else. Be honest. Do not over or under exaggerate your capabilities, because again, it comes down to, we will pull out the scope of services and say you said you could do this, you're not doing this. The team will now know that you can't do it. And again, sit with your team, review all aspects of the model, not just for 5D capabilities, because what you might label as a 5D might have a knock-on effect when you do logistics or your 4D. So, or everyone sit together and actually talk through this. And you know, this is from experience. Oh well, anyway. So the end, hopefully, a bit more of a practical approach. If you have any pains, I'm sure I can share it with you. Tea.